Mission 7, but Deathless. Starting off with USA Mission 7, we can't lose any units, we can't build any units or buildings, and drones are allowed to. So for this one, we're going to use our general points right away on the triple A-10 strike, fuel air bomb, and repair ability, revealing the GLA base and using that A-10 right away on a worker near the barracks. So the reason why we're doing that is because that's the spot where the GLA places their palace. Now if you destroy the palace, even if it's a scaffold, the GLA won't rebuild. So that means that the GLA won't have any access to Scud Storms, they won't have access to any of the upgrades from the palace or the black market, and they have no access to any units that require the palace. So only with a little bit of effort on your part, you've cut down the offense on the GLA side by quite a bit. Meanwhile, whilst we did all of that, we got some rangers who are going to flashbang these garrisons so then we can get access to the middle of the map. So that's going to be easy work for these rangers, and it's also an easy vet 3 for these rangers as well. Now these Crusaders and Humvees, they're going to take out this gate just so I have easier access to the first GLA base as well. Meanwhile the rangers, we're just going to keep flashbanging like maybe 1 or 2 more buildings. We also did do the fuel air bomb on the arms dealer just so I can slow down the production of GLA vehicles too. Don't have to worry about the rebels because we have snipers inside the Humvees. Now you could use a general point to get the spy drone, but if you were to use the spy drone and it gets destroyed, that would count as a unit lost, which is why we're going to use the drones from the vehicles instead, because that doesn't count as a unit lost. Now that's going to reveal the demo trap, we're able to take care of that, no problem. Now the next threat is going to be the quad cannon, which we're going to use the Crusaders instead of the Humvees because the Humvees can't take as much abuse compared to a Crusader tank. Now the Humvees have sniped off the worker that was rebuilding that arms dealer there, so that's part of the reason why we ended up using the fuel air bomb on the arms dealer, because I knew that we would get to the arms dealer with the snipers in time, and we can also destroy the demo trap which finishes off the GLA hull. Now with those 2 Humvees, we evac all of our infantry to garrison one of these buildings. That's going to take out another quad cannon, and now we can just hop from one building to another building. And the snipers, remember, they can detect those demo traps, so I don't have to worry too much about those demo traps. So we've garrisoned a pretty good building with our infantry because we're within range of the tunnel network, the barracks, as well as the supply stash. So we're able to wipe out those with no issue. And we're also within range of some demo traps as well, so it means our Crusader tanks can move a bit more freely inside the first GLA base. Now with our dozer, we're moving the dozer into position to keep the building repaired but also keep the dozer out of harm's way from the GLA vehicles. As for the Crusader tanks, I decided to move in on these quad cannons and technicals because if too many vehicles have a shot at my garrison building, then it does mean that my infantry inside could be at risk if they get evicted from the building. So I want to make sure that I can pick off as many vehicles as I can with the Crusaders so then the GLA doesn't build up enough to wipe out my building. Now the other X factor to talk about here is the GLA has toxin tractors in this mission, so I've got the Crusader tanks nearby just in case the GLA busts out any toxin tractors, because one toxin tractor is enough to wipe out all 10 of those units. So using the satellite scan, picking off those demo traps, another thing you could do is you could wait for the GLA vehicles to get close enough, then destroy the demo trap, which will also damage the vehicles too. So just another strategy you could try if you want to try and pick them off a bit more easily.
Crusader tank responding. Taking new ground.
Unit lost.
So with the next A-10 strike, we use it on the arms dealer because we need to slow down the GLA from producing any more vehicles, and then that way I can make my next move with my Crusader tanks. Meanwhile, they're trying to attack me with a toxin tractor, but I was ready for it with my Crusader tanks, so we're able to deal with that no problem. But the quad cannons are doing some pretty good damage to my Crusader tanks, and we're getting pretty close to losing a Crusader here, and I was very lucky. My Crusader survived with a fraction of health, and I was like, okay, we better get the drone so then we can repair the damage. So I keep one good Crusader and one bad Crusader behind, the good one to defend the bad one, and 2 Crusaders are going to pick off the quad cannons as well as the command center too. So pretty much to destroy the enemy command center here, I do have a Pathfinder out as well to pick off any enemy infantry that try and get in the way. Now with the command center gone, the GL is going to sell off some nearby stinger sites as well as evac a nearby garrison building. Now the garrison building here, oddly enough, disappears, and I would have liked to have used that garrison building, but there are other ways to beat this mission from here on out. Now I've got my Pathfinder out, who's going to pick off some enemy infantry, but I also want to use him to detect any nearby demo traps, so then my Crusaders don't get hit by said demo trap. And this one with 73%, we are going to pick that off anyway. I could have kept it in place so then I could bait out more workers and snipe them off, but we don't need to worry about that. We're also going to use the fuel air bomb to pick off the arms dealer, slowing down the production of vehicles once more. It will turn it into a GLA hole and they will be able to rebuild it, but it's still going to slow them down nonetheless. So with our sniper, we can also pick off some guys inside the stinger site, but mainly we want to just pick off those demo traps.
Armor detail reporting. Clearing terrain.
Unit
So my first attack on the next GLA base is to go for the vehicles. If we can pick off as many vehicles as possible whilst the arms dealer is down, we can eventually break through the defense and start picking off those buildings for the last time. Now I did get a little bit ambitious with my Pathfinder, and I ended up going around the wrong side of the building, and he almost got taken out by that tunnel network there. See, in another attempt I did the same thing and the tunnel network didn't actually shoot, so that's why I did that. But luckily I was vet 3 and I can self-heal with the Pathfinder anyway. Meanwhile with the Crusader tanks, we've healed up with our drones, so then we can make another move on the Scorpion tanks on the GLA side. And I took a look at the arms dealer. It's almost finished reconstructing, but I need to take it out of play again. So we use the A10 strike, and that's really going to just keep slowing down the GLA from producing more vehicles. If we can keep doing that, it's going to mean that I'll be able to break through the enemy defenses a little bit easier.
Unit lost.
Heavy armor ready for action. Anywhere you say, sir. Blow them wide open. Let's grease them. Let's grease them. Armor detail reporting. This'll wake them up. Clearing terrain. Anywhere you say, sir.
So we've almost broken through the GLA defense. We're getting our sniper into position right now, so pick off that rocket trooper, and with our sniper we can also pick off the workers getting resources. We could also pick off the guys inside the stinger site to prevent them from firing any missiles on my Crusader tanks. So a lot we could do with this sniper. Now the sniper, because we're picking off these workers, I believe it's gotten the attention of a Scorpion tank, so we get our Crusaders into position to pick off the Scorpion tank, and then that just means there's one less vehicle to defend the GLA base. Now the GLA has put up an arms dealer scaffold, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I want to pick off the GLA supply stash right now, because once the supply stash goes and we take out the arms dealer, they can't rebuild the arms dealer. That was my thought process at the time. Now there is one tunnel network as well, and I was like, okay, well, in order to actually get a good shot on the command center, we do need to take out that tunnel network. So that's exactly what we do. Now we did snipe off the worker getting the arms dealer rebuilt as well, so that's going to slow down the arms dealer even more. So here's where I screwed up. See, I could have used the Crusader tanks to pick off the arms dealer, and because they have no supply stash, they wouldn't be able to rebuild the arms dealer. But instead I used my Crusader tanks to go for the enemy command center, and I thought, well, I could use my Pathfinder to snipe the worker rebuilding the arms dealer. The thing with that though is there's a technical nearby, so I thought it might be too risky to try and snipe the worker. So just like that, they are going to rebuild their arms dealer when we could have easily destroyed it with the Crusader tanks. So not the biggest mistake in the world, but it does mean that they are able to build vehicles again. And it does mean that it's going to take a little bit longer to actually beat this mission and destroy the GLA base. So we are getting attacked by a technical as well. So now that that's out of the way, we can snipe. And the one vehicle that pops out of the arms there happens to be a toxin tractor. So we've got to retreat with the Pathfinder. And thankfully the Crusaders are enough to pick off that tractor. And finally we use our Crusader tanks to take out the barracks as well as the arms dealer for the last time. Again, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to let the GLA rebuild their arms dealer. That sounds kind of dumb to me because we need to destroy that in order to actually beat this mission. But in any case, this is how we did USA Mission 7 Deathless without building any units, without building any buildings, and also allowing drones for the vehicles because that doesn't count as a unit created or as a unit lost.
Heavy armor ready for action.
Unit lost.
On your command. Heavy armor ready for action.
Objective
Clearing terrain.
completed. You are victorious.
Taking new ground.
Next up is China Mission 7, but before we get into China Mission 7, I have some explaining to do here. So this is another one of these missions where you will lose units before you have control over your units. Now in this case, it's 4 units lost. So when we get to the end where you can see the stats, it will read 4 units lost. I figured I'd let you know that. And I also did a little bit more research into the units lost. And I ended up watching this cutscene like 10 times, so then I could find out when each of those 4 units were lost in the cutscene. So I'll put that on screen for you as well, just so you can see when, when it happens for each unit. So for this one, we're thrown right into the middle of a battle here. Now the trick is to Q-key everyone, go for the Scorpion, Marauder, then Rocket Trooper, and then everyone else. So that way you're just barely able to survive with your Dragon Tanks and Battle Master. So what we're going to do next is get our Overlords, one with a Speaker Tower, one with a Gatling Cannon. So Speaker Tower is going to help your small fries heal up as well, and the Gatling Cannon is going to be good for picking off enemy infantry. Meanwhile, with the Dozers, we're going to get the Command Center and the Reactor. I don't know if this is possible without building buildings. I do need to get the general powers as well, so then we can use artillery barrages, EMPs, mines as well. Lots of good stuff. Also, the repairability could come in handy too. But yeah, I don't think it's possible without building any buildings. If anyone could do that, let me know. But yeah, I haven't had any success. I guess one strategy you could try is maybe you could try exhausting the GLA resources and see if they stop building any units by that point. That would be my only strategy. But yeah, who knows. So yeah, now they've finally arrived. So we were waiting on the rocket buggies, the Marauder tank, and some Scorpion tanks to arrive. So then we can pick them off, and then after that we can start advancing with those Overlords as well as our Inferno cannons. Another thing I want to talk about is the Scud Storm. So in this mission, GLA has a Scud Storm, and from what I'm used to, super weapons will fire on you based on cash value. But this Scud Storm is a little bit different, because this one will only fire if your cash is $5,000 or more. So the aim of the game here is to just keep our money below 5,000 and the Scud Storm won't fire. But there's actually more to it. So if you were trying to do this without building buildings, the Scud Storm does fire, but it only fires on the bottom left corner of the map, and you have no units or buildings there, so it's a complete whiff with that Scud Storm. So you can avoid it if you if you're trying to do this without building buildings, you can avoid it. There's even more to it as well. So if you were to build a command center only, the Scud Storm fires on the command center. If you build a command center and a reactor, the Scud Storm aims at the reactor. See, because you've got that second building, the Scud Storm is factoring out the command center. But if you have units next to your command center that exceed the value of the reactor, then the Scud Storm will fire on the command center and those units as well. So just thought I'd tell you about it. I found it was quite fascinating when I learned about it, but yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of that. So because we kept advancing with our overlords, the GLA got less and less Scorpion tanks out, so we were able to get through the arms dealer pretty well. Now there's some GLA infantry as well as the tunnel network. There is also one more Scorpion tank that I see, but I knew the Scorpion tank would come to me, so we can pick that off with the overlords too. Now with the overlords, I didn't want to come to the Scorpion tank because I want to move north with these overlords as well. Now with the Gatling tanks, they're there to help pick off GLA infantry. I don't want to destroy the barracks or the supply stash. What I want to do is I want to use my Dragon tanks to destroy the building, but leave it as a GLA hull so then they can rebuild. And then I can build up the veterancy on my Dragon tanks. So that's the plan. Now with this, my Dragon tanks are going to get different levels of veterancy because the barracks and the supply stash give different amounts of EXP. So with this, one Dragon tank got Vet 1, the other got Vet 2. So what that means is if I swap the positions around, so the one that got Vet 2 goes to the barracks and the Vet 1 goes to the supply stash, then we can get these two up to Vet 3 pretty quickly. As for our overlords, we're moving them to the west and we're going for the arms dealer, the barracks, the supply stash and palace. That's closest. But we don't want to move the overlords in, no. Otherwise they're going to get destroyed by rocket buggies. So what's going on is GLA is trying to stop me, but we're using our general powers as map revealers, but the EMP as well as the mines can delay or destroy some of those GLA units. What we really wanted was that artillery barrage, and we used the barrage on the arms dealer, but we aimed it in a way where we can actually hit the barracks too. So with the barrage, we're able to destroy the arms dealer and the barracks. Now in this mission, the GLA does not rebuild their buildings, so we're able to cut down their production quite a bit by taking away one of their barracks and one of their arms dealers. They still have more barracks and arms dealers back at their base. Meanwhile, the overlords were retreating and heading back to where we were. Now this is my defense. Because we can't build any base defenses, my defense for picking off the GLA units is going to be 2 Inferno Cannons, 2 Dragon Tanks, and 2 Overlords. That is my defense. And look at the way I position these units. So I've got 2 Dragon Tanks. It took a little bit of finesse to try and get the Flame Wall right, because I didn't want the Flame Wall being too much of a bother to the Overlord on my right. It can cause some problems here and there. It really depends on if I need to break formation with the overlords, a ton. So yeah, I am taking a little bit of damage there. But as long as we stay in formation, then we're able to heal back up to full health, and then we can pick off the next wave one by one. As for my Inferno Cannons, I got them force firing next to a building, and the GLA infantry like to come out of that spot, so we're able to pick off the infantry pretty well on the left side too. Now, the ups and downs of the Inferno Cannons here, since they're a bit further away, it does mean that they're at less risk of getting attacked by GLA units, but because they're far away, it does also mean they're not receiving the buff from my Speaker Tower Overlord, so their fire rate isn't going to increase, which means they're less likely to create firestorms. So just a heads up, there are a lot of speed ups for this mission because I'm quite literally just staying in this one spot for a long period of time here. Now the goal here is to destroy the GLA arms dealers. Now I mentioned earlier that GLA does not rebuild their buildings. Now the only way to destroy the GLA arms dealers this way is to reveal the map. And the only way to reveal the map under these circumstances is to use our general powers. So we're using like artillery barrages on nothing, just so we can reveal the map. Same goes for the EMP pulse and the mines. So we can just barely see one arms dealer, but I need to see more in order to be able to use the artillery barrage and aim at dead center so then we can destroy that arms dealer. So a thing to note about my strategy here is that it's actually a little bit similar to what other content creators have done. like other content creators would do like palace defense as well. That palace defense is definitely helpful. Other defenses you could try nuke cannons. Nuke cannons would work very well, a lot better than the inferno cannons too. And they would use their artillery barrage on the Scud Storm, so then they can take away that 5k limitation, and then they could go above 5k. They could then build nuclear missiles and Scud Storms of their own, and then they could wipe out the GLA that way. So yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting strategies and approaches when it comes to this mission, but because I've put all of these rules on top of doing Deathless, it does mean that I can only defend myself a certain way. And as for my dragon tanks on the right, you can get away with just using the one dragon tank. I did have one successful attempt before this, but it was 10 minutes longer, and I wanted to see if I could shave off a little bit of time. So we're just waiting on the barrage to destroy the arms dealer. Now that's going to leave the GLA with 2 barracks and 1 arms dealer left. Now, could I use my overlords to do the cleanup by that point? Honestly, I don't think so. I think the GLA would still be able to bust out too many units for me to handle, and I'd lose one or both of the overlords. So we're going to keep using our general powers to keep revealing more of the map. We'll find the other arms dealer, and then we'll pick it off with another artillery barrage too.
Unit lost.
We finally got to barrage the next arms dealer. I had to wait on the mines to be ready so then we could reveal the map. Now with that, no more GLA vehicles, but I am going to hold my formation for just a little bit longer because there's one more batch of GLA vehicles that are going to come in to attack. So I figured we'll deal with them first, then we'll move in with our overlords. Now I could use my artillery barrage to destroy the barracks as well, and then that way the GLA would have no units left to attack or defend. But I think that would be a little bit too easy, and that was the reason why in my last successful attempt I took 10 minutes longer. It's because I used the barrages on both of the barracks, then I sent the overlords for cleanup. So this was the first attempt where I'm seeing if it is possible if the GLA has barracks as well. So with that, the GLA is going to have Terries, rocket troops, rebels. Didn't use angry mobs against me, even though they got palaces. But yeah, even those units that I mentioned are still going to be a threat. I mean, look at how much damage those rocket troops are doing to my Vet 3 Overlord. So that was almost half health from those rocket troops there. So it's still going to be, kind of dangerous, but I felt like my overlords were up for the job.
Nothing in our way. Overlord is waiting in a moment. What do you need? I will crush. Overlord is waiting. You are pure. I will take care of it. It is time.
Unit lost.
I am big. Is that all? It is time. I am in control. I am big. You are pure. This is what do you need? Overlord is waiting. I will take this Overlord attack.
Unit lost.
These will be over soon. They are pure in a moment. I am in control. Overlord moving.
So we're getting closer and closer to the GLA base. We had a couple of close calls, but we're able to move on just fine. I used my artillery barrage on the palace. Now, the reason why I used it on the palace was because, well, I thought, well, we're using the overlords to clean up this mess anyway, so we could use the artillery barrage on the supply stash and the palace, so then there's less cleanup, and then we don't have to send the overlords to that spot to finish off the GLA. That was my thought process. Now, here's where we get into some mistakes. I was a little bit too cocky, a little bit too confident, and I was like, yeah, we'll be fine. 2 tunnels and a stinger site won't be able to do this to me. And yeah, because of my overconfidence, I nearly failed the mission and lost one of my overlords. So yeah, that happened. I still have those moments of where I get a little bit too cocky. And yeah, I gotta try and keep my head in check here. Thankfully though, we're able to move back in with the overlords. My one that was almost dead ended up healing up to about 1/3 health, and so we can move him back in to finish off the tunnel networks.
Is that all? Nothing in our way. They are pure. Overlord move.
And now with the overlords, there's just going to be a handful of infantry left. That's going to be no problem. Once we pick off that barracks, there's like nothing left that they can do to stop me. I can just use those guys, set them to guard mode, and then they can clean up the rest. I ended up using my dragon tanks to try and go to where the supply stash and the palace is. I noticed the palace got turned into a GLA hole, so that's going to be fully reconstructed by the time I get there with the dragon tanks. And with the dragon tanks, we're going to make easy work out of those tunnel networks. I did move to the left so then I don't get hit by the other tunnel, but I realized the other tunnel was kind of low health anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. And we just used the dragon tanks to finish off the palace, and that is how we did China 7 Deathless.
launch
What do
facility
you
is
want?
heavily
Cannot we
defended.
live in peace? Yes.
We will have to hit them with everything we have. Capture the ground.
And finally we have GLA Mission 7. So for this one, can't lose any units, can't build any units, can't build supply stashes or tunnel networks. Rebel ambush is allowed, and I can only fire once with a super weapon, but it must be on the Chinese bunker and the Patriot closest to the rocket that we got to capture later on. And reason for that is because if we don't use a super weapon, then we have to resort to using anthrax bombs, and that means that we'd be waiting for like 30 minutes roughly, because it takes about 4 or 5 anthrax bombs, and it's a 6-minute cooldown for the anthrax bomb. So yeah, I figured just to do a bit of time saving, we'll use the super weapon just on that. Now, as for tunnel networks and supply stashes, those will generate rocket troopers and workers, which adds to units created. So again, that breaks the rule of can't build any units. Now what we're doing, we send a worker to the north to build stinger sites, and we're also selling off our arms dealer because I do need the cash. So cash does get a little bit on the tight side right at the beginning, but once we get those oil derricks and start generating the cash is it's not really an issue. So right now we have one rebel going for the oil derrick that's further right, and then another that's going to capture the one at our base. So the stinger sites that we're building at the north, right, we're building those next to the train tracks, and the train is actually kind of helpful here, because if we do get attacked by Chinese units and then a train passes by, it actually makes the Chinese units go a little bit closer to your stinger sites, so then they can get a clear shot on your stinger sites. So it means that if you're up against any Chinese units that can outrange your stinger sites, you'll be able to pick those off.
Let's fight. We will not be hindered. Let's fight. We have captured the mill. Nothing will stop us.
Now that we have the oil derricks, I got one of my rebels to move to the northwest, and I keep clicking the move order so then I could see where a cliff is. So my game plan here is I want to use that rebel to reveal more of the map. So he's going to scout out a bit more, and then he's going to return back to base, so then I can garrison one of these 2 buildings that's off to the far left where the oil derrick is. Now these 2 garrisons don't really serve much of a purpose because I ended up using level 3 rebel ambush. It means that I need to keep these guys protected. So I could have used like a level 1 rebel ambush at the beginning and then used like a level 3 rebel ambush later on. You know, that could have worked, but since I've got more rebels at my main base, I could also use them offensively and you know, help defend in case the stinger sites aren't enough. So with our rebel, we've revealed almost all of what we want to see here. So what we want to see is we want to see the Chinese airfield. So what that means is if I do another rebel ambush later on, I can get the rebels to spawn next to the airfield and then use those rebels to destroy the airfield and any other Chinese buildings along the way. Meanwhile, I've got the camouflage ability from the palace that's almost ready to go here, and that's going to be the heart of the strategy. See, I need my rebels to be stealthy so then I can sneak around the Chinese as well as the US base undetected, and if my rebels are shooting and they do get detected, then I need my guys to make a clean escape without any units lost. Meanwhile, at our base, we've also got the black market almost ready to go. There's only 2 upgrades we really need. It's going to be the AP rockets for our stinger sites and the AP bullets for our rebels to increase the damage of those 2 things.
I'm just a peasant. I will obey.
So here's where the battle starts to get interesting. So at the US base, part of their base is already revealed, which means I can use my rebel ambush to sneak around the base. Now when you do a rebel ambush, they aren't going to be stealthy right away. It does take a few seconds for them to get the stealth, so I ended up running away so I don't get the attention of the paladins and the tomahawks. Now I've got my rebels hotkeyed to number 1 and number 3. I got a worker hotkeyed to number 2 and another rebel that we were using as a scout hotkeyed to number 4. So with our worker, building more stinger sites to the north there. Now as for rebel number 3, we're moving him to the north to reveal more of the map, and hotkey 1 rebels, they're going to try and destroy that propaganda center.
Yes, I go.
So the reason why we want to go after the propaganda center is because if we do get rid of it, it prevents the Chinese from building overlords as well as inferno cannons. And so inferno cannons is going to be quite a bother here because they can outrange my stinger sights, and under these circumstances there's nothing I can really do to stop it. So that's why, that's another reason why I'm putting my stinger sights next to the train tracks, because if the train comes, then that forces that inferno cannon to get a little bit closer, and then I can use my stinger sights to pick off the inferno cannon. That's the only option I've got, but the odds of that happening aren't as likely compared to other Chinese tanks, so I just gotta hope for the best if that was the case. But with the propaganda center gone, we don't have to worry about inferno cannons or overlords. They might bust out one overlord right at the beginning, but that's just because I didn't have enough time to destroy the propaganda center.
We are upgrading to armor-piercing bullets.
I am finished with the business. Okay, I will work. I will try to hurry. I'm just a peasant. There's a lot of work. This is hard work. And construction has been completed.
So here comes the first Chinese wave, and this time it's an overlord with a couple of Gatling tanks. So there is some RNG to this because they might do different unit combinations. They won't always do the overlord. They might do battle masters and dragon tanks. They might do a couple of troop crawlers, so 16 red guards. So there's a number of different unit combinations that they could do to attack you. Now in this case, because we've destroyed that propaganda center, it means that they won't be able to bust out any more overlords unless they're able to rebuild that propaganda center, which there is a chance that they could do. See, they can actually send a dozer all the way from the Chinese base to the US base in order to rebuild that prop center. And because we got our rebels there, it means that we can use the rebels to stop the dozer. If we destroy the dozer and then we start destroying other Chinese buildings, they won't be able to rebuild. See, it seems like they don't build any more dozers. That one dozer, that's it. So back at our base, we were getting attacked by the US forces, and they attacked mainly on my right flank. So I don't have to worry too much about setting up stinger sites near the supply stash or the other side of the command center or anything like that. As long as we keep that right flank protected, then we're good. Now with our rebels, the next thing that I want to do is I got my Vet 3 rebel to move towards the strategy center, and another rebel who is going to alt path towards the airfield and then back to join the rest of the group. That's just going to be a scout to reveal more of the map, because I want to be able to use my anthrax bomb a little bit later on, and we have almost got that rank up too. See, it's sort of a waiting game where we got to wait on enough USA planes and Chinese vehicles to come by, so then I can get the EXP, and then we can use that anthrax bomb to do a lot of damage to both of the bases. Now I use my rebel ambush and next to the airfield like I mentioned earlier, so now we can destroy the airfield. Now here's the thing, the Chinese MiGs, they're actually protecting the rocket that we have to capture, but if we are able to get those MiGs to fire, then they won't have an airfield to return to, so they're going to run out of fuel and be destroyed. As long as when they fire, they miss, then we'll be fine. So with our rebels, I'm using half of the rebels to go for the command center and the other half to go for the barracks. So the reason why we're attacking like that is because if we have a large group attacking, we're actually more likely to get the attention of Chinese vehicles. So mainly it's going to be Chinese battle masters or dragon tanks. And so right now I'm trying to move my rebels around to join the group attacking the command center, but I'm trying to make it so they don't spread out too much, otherwise we will get chased by those Chinese vehicles. Luckily we were able to move the rebels around correctly, so we're able to do max damage on the command center, and we'll pick it off just that little bit faster. So with the rebels destroying these Chinese buildings, it means that we're going to get to that rank 5 just that little bit sooner here. Now with the Chinese command center gone, you've also prevented them from doing the artillery barrage on you. Now with the artillery barrage, I believe the first one misses, but the second one will hit you. So it does mean you have some time to take out that command center before then. Now with our rebels, I decided we'll move in on the War Factory next. So the War Factory, that is a building where Chinese vehicles will try and intervene, mainly a Battlemaster to the north. And it doesn't matter if I attack with a small group or a big group, I do get chased by Battlemasters, so I decide to attack with a large group because large group means more damage. So if we can destroy the War Factory, then we'll get that rank 5. So here comes the Battlemaster, and we're just able to do it, and we just got to run away, and then once we go stealthy again, we'll be in the clear. Now with rank 5, triple bounty and anthrax bomb. We don't need the extra cash by this point. I'm just using the general points for the sake of using general points. Can't use any other, abilities here, so like repair ability, but we have no vehicles, and then all of the other things like technicals or marauders, we're not going to use those anyways, so the other points are kind of pointless. So my next move, I'm using my hotkey 3 rebel to move further north. Now by doing that, we're triggering 3 paladins into attacking me. Now these 3 paladins, some will move to the left, some will move through the US base. I was hoping the other 2 would move through the US base because we used the anthrax bomb on a cluster of paladins and tomahawks. Now by using the anthrax bomb on the US vehicles, it is going to trigger those 3 paladins that were camping next to the airfield to come to my base to attack me. So those paladins are going to be at like half health, or they might be in the red. Really depends on how long they spend inside the anthrax. Now back at the Chinese base, we're getting 1 Vet 3 rebel to be a scout, because at the Chinese base they still have a supply center and they still have reactors too, as well as a nuclear missile. So game plan here is we want to try and figure out a way to destroy or capture the reactors without getting the attention of the dragon tanks and the Battlemasters.
We will not be hindered.
Do not hurt me. Is it safe?
Let's fight.
I will obey.
We will not be oppressed. No cost is too great. Our homes are in peril.
I'm just a peasant.
With the Chinese base pretty much destroyed, I set my sights on the US base next. So for this one, I moved my rebels to the north, and I'm moving 1 rebel towards the command center. So I'd like to capture the command center, but it's kind of risky because of that airfield. And that airfield can produce Comanches in this mission. So what we're going to do is we're getting 1 rebel further north, the Vet 3 rebel, from earlier, to capture the strategy center. Now the strategy center is within range of the airfield because it has bombardment. So if we can destroy the airfield, it means that I can focus on capturing the command center without any threat from the US side. And of course, another reason for capturing the strategy center is the fact that if I was to try and capture or destroy any US buildings with my rebels, then it would mean that the bombardment from the strategy center would pick off my rebels, and that has caught me out a few times in previous attempts, but this time I was able to remember it and actually make sure that the strategy center is on my side. Now with the strategy center, we're picking off that airfield as we speak, and I felt like I could attack the airfield with my rebels. See, because the airfield is at half health, it means it's going to take less time to destroy it. Now there's going to be the 2 rangers that spawn from the airfield, and one of them did get a shot off with the flashbang, but we're able to outrun it, so no damage done. And we can also use our strat center to force fire and then pick off those 2 rangers as well. So I was about to move in with my rebels to capture the command center, but the US built a new dozer. So that's going to be an issue because that dozer could rebuild any destroyed buildings, but more importantly, that dozer could run over some of my rebels if I'm not looking. So I decided, let's get rid of this dozer and then we can move in to capture the command center. So what we're going to do is we're going to get 1 rebel to move in on the capture, and then the rest, we're going to move these guys to the front of the command center. So if they build any new dozers, then we can quickly destroy it without them running over any rebels.
We will cleanse them from our land. We have captured the building. We will not be oppressed. Take us to glory.
Okay, okay, I will work.
Our power is low.
Our courage will be seen by all. One path to freedom. The way is clear. Take us to glory.
So right now we're using our strategy center to destroy the barracks. Now reason for that is because there's a group of 5 pathfinders hidden on this map. Now if you were to destroy the pathfinders before you destroy the barracks, then the US will just rebuild those pathfinders, and the US will also move the pathfinders to a different location, meaning you'd have to use the satellite scan to find where they are now, and then maybe use an anthrax bomb to pick them off again in case they become a threat. With my rebels, I was about to capture more power plants in the supply drop zone, but I changed my mind. So the reason why I changed my mind is because if I destroy or capture enough US buildings, it's actually going to trigger the Chinese forces into moving south to where we are, and if I own any US buildings and they get destroyed, it's going to produce Rangers. Now if they destroy the Rangers, that will count as a unit lost, and I'll fail the mission. So my next move, I use my satellite scan, and this is where the 5 pathfinders are that I mentioned earlier. So I could use an anthrax bomb on them, and they won't be able to rebuild those because they have no barracks and they have no dozer. So that's going to be very easy work for me. But the thing is, like, if I was to capture and control enough of the US stuff, those 5 pathfinders will eventually trigger and move out. So I want to be able to destroy the pathfinders before they trigger. Now the next thing to worry about is going to be the particle cannon. So the particle cannon is something that's going to go off cash value, so that's why we're building a couple of black market scaffolds. So yeah, I was hoping that they would fire in that spot, because I don't need the palace and I don't need the black markets anymore, because I have enough cash. Now it hit the barracks as well as the black markets. That's fine, I can just rebuild the barracks anyway. So yeah, no big deal there. And with the particle cannon, it has such a long timer on it, and so I know it won't fire on me again, because I can just capture more power plants and then shut the power down. Now my next move, I ended up selling off 3 power plants that I captured. There's 2 reasons for that. So when we trigger the Chinese units into coming to me, it means that they can't destroy those power plants, producing Rangers for them to destroy. Another reason for it is the strategy center. With those power plants out of the way, it means that my strategy center has a much more clear shot on any Chinese forces that move down south. Because another way to trigger those Chinese forces is if you use the anthrax bomb on them. So if we use the anthrax bomb, it's going to weaken those tanks, but it also means that the strategy center will only need like 1 shot to destroy it, because those tanks are going to be in the red, so they're slower moving, so it's going to be a done deal. So here comes the anthrax bomb, and I'm just trying to really pick my target here. So go for the tanks, and also the MiGs are circling around. Now remember, the MiGs can fire on aircraft, so if the MiGs fire on my plane that's going to drop off the anthrax bomb, then it'll mean that those MiGs will want to go back to an airfield, and since there's no airfield, the MiGs are going to run out of fuel and then they'll get destroyed too.
A warrior has fallen.
So there goes the Gatling tanks, and there's 1 Battle Master there, and I can either hope for the Battle Master to get destroyed by the anthrax, or the strategy center itself will take it out. Like I said before, the Battle Master is in the red, so it is going to move slower than normal, which means that my strategy center bombardment is going to be more likely to destroy that tank when it fires its shot. So just getting the upgrades just cause, and we're using our rebels to capture more buildings. What I wasn't expecting though was the Paladin tank. So there was a Paladin tank and a Battle Master that was still around. I suspect they were hanging around the Chinese base, and I caught their attention with the anthrax bomb. So now it's just a 2v1 with the strategy center, but because of the way they position themselves, I am able to just do damage on both tanks at the same time here. So that's very easy work for my strategy center. And because it's a US building, it's going to auto repair, so I don't have to worry about that either. Now I used my satellite scan to just see if there was any other tanks coming my way. Nothing there, so now we just have to worry about the next batch of units to deal with. So we do speed up this section just because nothing really happens at this point. We're waiting on the anthrax bomb to be ready. Now meanwhile, we're using our rebels to capture more US buildings. That's still not going to trigger anything from the US side because the power plant and the particle cannon is still in play. So we're just using our cash to buy upgrades willy-nilly. And another thing I do want to talk about, now that we're not really doing much of anything, is the nuclear missile. So the nuclear missile in this one is kind of a weird one, because the first time it fires near your command center. It won't do any damage unless you have units in that spot, so it's always scripted to aim in that first spot every time. Now, another thing with the nuclear missile is it hasn't fired yet. Now, there's a reason why it hasn't fired. It's because we destroyed the command center so early on. So if you destroy the command center before the nuke fires, then the nuke won't fire at all. And so that nuclear missile is always going to read 0 on the timer. And you can still capture it, and you could fire it yourself if you want to. Of course, you need to have enough power to do so. And that's exactly what we will do later on. So the Anthrax bomb is pretty much ready to go. I ended up using my satellite from the command center to reveal more of the map, so then I can see the vehicles that are next to the supply center. So that's a lot of vehicles to take out. And the thing is that if I make enough moves, if I try and capture these buildings that we're required to capture, I don't know if those vehicles are going to trigger as a result. So I think it would be in my best interest to just take out as many vehicles as possible with the Anthrax bombs. That way I don't have any resistance later on. Now that one Battlemaster, I was hoping that it would be within range of my Anthrax bombs, so that one Battlemaster that was chasing my rebels earlier. So it is just within range, so I don't have to worry about sending my rebels out to attack it. We can just let the Anthrax do the work. Since we used the Anthrax bomb earlier on, we're able to capture the nuclear reactors with the rebel that we were using as a scout. I also used my satellite scan to reveal the Gatling tanks, Battlemaster's Dragon tank, and nuke cannon as well. That's going to be a big threat. I do want to use an Anthrax bomb in that area later on, because nuke cannons versus stinger sights is not going to go well for me. Now, this second reactor that we captured is going to get the attention of the Battlemasters, so we just sell off instantly. Thing is, if we let it get destroyed, it's going to spew out the radiation, and then that means that it'll take even more time for me to get the capture on the next reactor. So oddly enough, I am able to capture this reactor, and these two Battlemasters, they're so close and they're not responding. So yeah, that kind of happened, and yeah, very lucky. If the Battlemasters responded, then I would have to back away and then maybe think of a different plan. Perhaps I destroy the reactor, or I just wait on an Anthrax bomb to pick off those Battlemasters and Dragon tank, but in any case, we did shut down the power. So we're using our next Anthrax bomb, and the way that I've aimed it in a way where it would hit the Battlemasters and the Dragon tank, but it'll also be within range of the nuke cannon that's nearby. Now here's the thing, if you aim the Anthrax bomb directly on top of the nuke cannon would get destroyed, but the radiation would counteract the toxins that get produced from the Anthrax bomb. So I aimed my Anthrax bomb in a way where that nuke cannon's radiation would not counteract the toxins. And with these vehicles out of the way, I can now use my rebel to capture the other nuclear reactor, plus the nuclear missile that we want to use to take out the Chinese bunker. Now another thing to note about the Chinese bunker, it does have red guards inside, so I can't exactly use my rebels to destroy that bunker, because it means risking my rebels, and I don't want to take a unit lost at this stage of the game here. And of course, I mentioned earlier the Anthrax bomb, we can use that to destroy the bunker, it just takes a very long time to do it. So that's why we're opting for just nuclear missile. I could have also gone particle cannon, but nuclear missile is closer to being ready, so we're just going with that. So now that the nuke is ready, we can take out that bunker and the Patriot, and then we can safely move in to capture that rocket later on with the rebels. So yeah, like I said, I could use the anthrax bomb to destroy the bunker. It just takes a very long time to do it, and I did have an attempt where I did use the anthrax bomb to destroy the bunker, and I did capture the rocket. I finished the mission, and then I found out that I lost 3 units somewhere along the way. So that was not very nice. That was kind of upsetting because I spent over an hour on that mission. But I think this is kind of better because it does mean less footage to edit, less speed ups, that sort of thing. So I think this is kind of a better attempt compared to the other one. So now we're just playing the waiting game, waiting on the next anthrax bomb to be ready, because there's still those 5 pathfinders, and there's also a bunch of infantry protecting one of the buildings that we got to capture here. So in the meantime, we get our rebels to join up with the rebel scout that captured the reactors. So these guys are going to be responsible for capturing the rocket. So we move our guys to the east, avoiding the train. Could you imagine if the train actually ran over my rebels at this point of the game? I would be so upset. So now we just have to wait on the anthrax to go away, so then we can make a safe capture on that building. As for the rebels at the train, they didn't get run over, so that's great. So now we can just move those guys to the rocket. Now let me just say, if you made it this far into the video, let me just say thank you for anyone that's watched this video, this series as a whole, the great feedback, any tips, tricks, suggestions to help me improve as a player. I appreciate all of it. This is kind of a team effort here. We put this together, because if it wasn't for you guys, you know, pushing me like to do these videos, then I wouldn't be doing them. So yeah, let's hope that we can make the next series even better than this one.
Ground control is now working. We must keep this building safe, General.
So 1 building down, 1 rocket to go, and I decided to drop a save here. So reason for that is because in the attempt where I used the anthrax bomb to destroy the bunker, we had those 3 units lost, and I thought to myself, well, how could I have lost a unit? What did we lose? And I thought, well, maybe it was a cutscene death. Maybe we lost units during the cutscene at the end. And yeah, I was just spitballing, so that's why I saved the game. And I thought, well, if we have lost units in this attempt, I can load up the save, I could then exit the game, then I could see if the units lost has changed by that point. But in any case, the units lost does stay at 0 for this one, so I don't have to worry about reloading the save or anything like that. I think I was just getting worried for nothing here. But that's the end of the series. We were able to beat USA Mission 7, China Mission 7, and GLA Mission 7 Deathless. I'm Crocolo. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I do have a playlist if you want to check out any of my other content. I'll see you in the next series. Bye.